Do you ever feel like your own mind is working against you? Like you're constantly arguing with yourself, second-guessing every decision, and somehow the voice in your head always knows exactly what to say to keep you small, scared, and stuck? You tell yourself you're being rational, that you're just thinking things through, but deep down you know something feels off. Like you're not the one steering the conversation. Like the voice has its own agenda, and that agenda is survival, not truth. Psychology suggests that this inner conflict isn't a sign of weakness or overthinking. It's actually a sign that you're closer to your real self than most people ever get, because the average person never questions the voice. They obey it blindly. They believe every fear is wisdom, every desire is destiny, every criticism is honesty. But you've already sensed the separation. You've already felt that gap between who you are and what your mind is saying. And that gap is where real freedom begins. In the next 6 minutes, I'm going to show you why your inner voice is not your enemy, but it's definitely not you either, and how learning to observe it instead of obey it will change every decision you make from this moment forward. Here's the problem. We live in a world that worships the inner voice. Follow your heart. Trust your gut. Listen to your intuition. Every self-help book, every motivational speaker, every Instagram quote treats the voice in your head like some divine GPS that always knows the way. But nobody tells you the dangerous truth. The inner voice is not a compass. It's a survival algorithm running on outdated software, and it's been programmed by every fear you've ever had, every rejection you've ever absorbed, every social rule you've ever been punished for breaking. You see your friends making bold moves, trusting themselves, moving forward with what looks like clarity, and you compare that to your own mental chaos, your own endless debates, your own paralysis by analysis. But what you're seeing isn't their inner voice working better than yours. You're seeing their inner voice working exactly the same. They just haven't learned to question it yet. The highlight reel you see is someone obeying their programming without knowing they're programmed. The behind the scenes you're living is actually the harder, more honest path. Your brain's social comparison mechanism is wired for survival, not accuracy. It scans for threats, measures status, calculates risk, and the inner voice is its loudest alarm system. In a world of constant digital noise, that system is overloaded. Every notification, every success story, every carefully curated life is another input your voice uses to tell you're falling behind. But you're not falling behind. You're just not buying the story anymore. And here's where the science gets interesting. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for complex decision-making, doesn't fully mature until around age 25. But more importantly, the voice in your head doesn't come from the prefrontal cortex. It comes from deeper, older systems, the amygdala, the hippocampus, the basal ganglia, regions that process fear, memory, and habit. Early confidence is often just early programming. A person who grew up rewarded for risk takes risks easily. A person who grew up punished for mistakes hears caution as wisdom. Their inner voice sounds clear because it was never challenged. You step back, your confusion, your voice sounds conflicted because you're actually hearing multiple systems at once. Fear says, stay safe. Desire says, go for it. Ego says, protect your image. And somewhere beneath all that noise, if you're quiet enough, there's something else trying to speak. Psychology calls this emotional granularity, the ability to distinguish between similar feelings and their sources. Research indicates that people who develop this skill report higher life satisfaction, better decision-making, and stronger relationships. Not because they have fewer thoughts, but because they no longer believe every thought deserves a vote. Your late clarity, they aren't signs of a broken mind. They're signs of a mind that refused to settle for the first story it was told. Your emotional foundation is stronger precisely because it was tested. You didn't get the easy script. You got the one that forces you to build something real. But here is the dangerous part. There is one specific mistake that 90% of people make when they start questioning their inner voice, and it keeps them more trapped than blind obedience ever did. If you don't fix this, no amount of self-awareness will help. I'll tell you exactly what that is in 30 seconds. The mistake is this. You try to silence the voice. You meditate to shut it up. You distract yourself to drown it out. You positive think your way around it. And when it keeps talking, you decide you're doing awareness wrong. But awareness was never about silence. It was about separation. The goal isn't to stop the voice. The goal is to stop being the voice. Here are 3 ways to build that separation starting today. First, audit your inner circle. Not your friends, your thoughts. For 1 week, write down the top 5 thoughts that repeat most often. Not the deep ones. The boring ones. I'm not ready. What will they think? I should be further along. Look at them on paper. Ask yourself one question. Whose voice is this really? Often you'll find it's not yours. It's a parent, a teacher, a culture, a past version of you that needed that belief to survive. Once you see the source, the thought loses its authority. Second, the 1% rule. Don't try to master your mind overnight. Focus on one micro win every day. One moment where you catch the voice in a lie and choose not to obey. One pause between the thought and the reaction. One decision made from observation instead of fear. These moments seem small, but they rewire the brain's habit loops. Research on neuroplasticity shows that consistent tiny interventions create stronger pathways than sporadic dramatic efforts. You don't need to win every battle. You need to win one, consciously, daily. Third, reframe the narrative. Instead of saying, I am overthinking, start saying, I am observing. Instead of, I am anxious, try, my nervous system is activated. Instead of, I can't trust myself, say, I am learning to trust the observer, not the noise. Language creates distance. Distance creates choice. And choice is what the voice fears most, because choice means you no longer need its permission. Remember, the sun takes time to rise, but when it does, it lights up the whole world. You aren't in the dark, you're just in the pre-dawn phase, learning to tell the difference between the voice that fears the light and the self that was always meant to meet it. Your time is coming, and it will be worth the wait. The voice that kept you small was never your enemy. It was just doing what it was built to do. Your job is not to destroy it. Your job is to outgrow it. If this video gave you even a little bit of clarity today, I want you to comment, I am the silence below. Let's fill the comments with that energy so the Ioneer TWI26 community knows they aren't alone in this. And if this reached you at the right moment, hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. Ioneer TWI26 exists for people who are done being controlled by voices they never chose. Every week, I break down the psychology of awareness, the quiet strength of self-observation, and the minds most people never learn to free. The world won't stop whispering in your head. But you can stop believing every whisper is you. Subscribe now, not because you need another channel, but because you need the reminder that you are not your thoughts. You are the silence that hears them. I'll see you in the next one.